Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about Pokemon X and Y again. So it's been several months since Pokemon X and Y was first announced, and of course everybody's hyping it up. Like it's going to be supposedly the greatest game of all time. Now, even though it looks to be the exact same as last week's. Now, one of the main problems with Pokemon is that they haven't really changed much. After, Generation 3 and 4, they stopped changing. Generation 3 introduced double battles. Your Pokemon could have special abilities and stuff, while Generation 4 had the physical special split and Wi-Fi. Generation 5 only ended up introducing a mediocre plot and multi-battles. Oh, wait. Many other RPGs before Pokemon had multi-battles and stuff. For example, what you're seeing here is gameplay of a PS2 video game, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, which came out around 2004-2005, and basically was released on the PS2 only. Now the first game in the series, first off, came out years before Pokemon Red and Blue did. Just saying. But anyways, that's not the point of this. The point of this is, several months later, X and Y still looks like it's going to be crap. Why? Well, let's talk about it. Reason number 1. The Pokemon designs look like crap. I mean, Mewthree, for example. Mewthree, or whatever that new Pokemon's called, there's no real name for it yet, but I guarantee they'll release it later. It looks a lot like Mew, but it looks even more like a Feudus. I mean, that sounds like, but it doesn't even look, it just looks like the kind of stuff somebody would think of while they're on crack, because that is what this Pokemon looks like. But pretty much, the designs for Generation 6 all look mediocre. Now, I know all the fans are going to fangasm over it, and I know DeviantArt, Furfinity, and all the other sites get flooded with fan art as soon as they announce a new Pokemon, but let's be honest. That one new Mewtwo Pokemon is just part of the mediocrity of this generation's design. You've got that one ribbon evolution, which makes all those fan evolutions on DeviantArt or Furfinity look good. And there are some that are even better than the designs they've been coming up with this gen, just saying. And of course, did I mention that, well, pretty much the starters and the mascots look forgettable too, but hey, let's talk about the gameplay and graphics. The graphics look mediocre. It's got that crappy art style. Now, why did I pick Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne out of all games? To show that this game came out in 2005 and yet can still outdo Pokemon X and Y big time. The graphics, for example. This game has an art style. Despite being mature and stuff, they could actually put out cel-shaded graphics that don't try too hard to be cartoony, and they look pretty good, and they've aged pretty well too, especially considering this game came out in 2004, 2005. The graphics still hold up pretty well today. And of course, did I mention that these graphics look a lot better than that crappy outlined art style for Pokemon X and Y, which looks like a DS could have done it? I mean, Soul to Robo looks so much better, and that's just a freaking DS game. There are better looking N64 games, there's better looking PS1 games than X and Y. X and Y just looks like crap. Even compared to other 3DS games, Mario Kart 7 and even iPhone games look better than Pokemon X and Y. I'm not even kidding. But hey, since all the people who are buying this game are going to harp on how graphics don't matter, I'm just going to talk about how the gameplay. The gameplay in Pokemon X and Y is literally unchanged from Pokemon Red and Blue. Sure, there's items you can hold, or multi-battles, which are features that other RPGs were doing years before Pokemon. I mean, in other RPGs that came out years before Pokemon, you could have your character equip multiple items. In Shin Megami Tensei, you can actually upgrade each additional stat manually. Yes, they let you do that in this game, unlike Pokemon, where you have to manually guess what your stats are. And of course, this is one of the things Shin Megami Tensei does that Pokemon doesn't. Take risks. Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne changed a lot. The game was no longer in first person like the earlier titles, and the game also took on its own cel-shaded art style, while also, instead of a 2D art style, along with also trying to do stuff such as the Pick 3 battle system, which in the right corner, as you can see, there are icons for each character, where instead of ranking on speed, it ranks on how well you can use the moves. Then it passes it over to the enemy. And if Pokemon tried something like this, and took risks in the main series instead of trying to milk the game over and over and over again, maybe we could have something interesting. But no, Pokemon is still the same as it was in 1996. You could compare Shin Megami Tensei on the Super Nintendo with this game. Keep in mind they're still in the main series, and you'll see a ton of differences. From the control layout to the fact that Nocturne feels a lot different, but more fun in my opinion. They're both good games though. But unlike Pokemon, Shin Megami Tensei makes monster recruiting a lot more fun and satisfying, where with Pokemon you just have to spam Master Balls. While with Pokemon, you can see all the signs of lack of change too. For example, X and Y is still grid-based in the overworld, while this game lets you free roam. And even after this, games running on the same engine like Digital Devil Saga changed up the controls too. While the camera controls are a little clunky in this game, when in the overworld, you have to use the buttons L1 and R1 to move your camera, and the stick moves a little like Ico in that it's awkward. This game doesn't have as good camera controls as Digital Devil Saga, but unlike Pokemon, they changed stuff. While with Pokemon, Black and White felt like Diamond and Pearl, but just with new Pokemon and triple battles, something this game could do years ago. And even then, the triple battles didn't even feel that good. There was only like one of them in the whole game of Black and White. And the storyline of Black and White was pretty mediocre too. I mean, it was just, oh my god, you save as the world from N and Team Plasma whatever. Or Pokemon PETA, whatever. I mean, once I discovered other RPGs, I realized Pokemon just hasn't aged too well, and the fact that they're not even going to improve on it makes it worse. And the spin-offs, they were disappointing. Pokemon Conquest was the blandest tactical RPG I've ever played in my life. And of course, did I mention that Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, that game was pretty mediocre. It was just a dungeon crawler with a generic RPG battle system, but just with like a few features thrown in from the Pokemon main series games. And did I mention that Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, they all feel the same? I mean, Call of Duty, the one series certain people say is the same every year, that had more changes than Pokemon Black and White did from Diamond and Pearl. I'm serious, Black Ops 2 changed a ton. You could go play Call of Duty 4 and then go play Black Ops 2 and they'll feel different unless you're if you've played a ton of both, you'll see what I mean. And now one more thing I'd like to criticize about Pokemon, the multiplayer. It's unbalanced, literally. There's a reason why there's tier lists. Single player RPGs were never meant to be multiplayer games. And the multiplayer with Pokemon is one of those tacked on multiplayers. You know, like how you ever play those campaign shooter games in the multiplayer? It's the exact same as a campaign shooter, but with just like in a map. Pokemon is kind of like that. You can do multiplayer battles, but the thing is, the multiplayer battles aren't fun. I mean, all you have to do is get an unbalanced Pokemon, level it up, and spam certain moves with little strategy required, and kaboom, you'll be a champion Pokemon battler on Smogon in MLG no time. I mean, I really don't care if they made the game better in the name of maybe making the multiplayer worse, or maybe if they improve the multiplayer this time instead of just making a cash-in where let's just make the multiplayer where you have to use friend codes and strict rules where you can't do a level 100 with no rules like in Diamond and Pearl. Those were the shit. You could just battle whatever Pokemon all level 100 to compensate, no rules, have fun. Black and White didn't even have that. In all, maybe if either they cut out the multiplayer or Even if they made the single player better at the expense of multiplayer, that would be better. Like, if they actually put a plot or put a good art style like in this game or Pokemon Coliseum. Maybe if they did one of those, that would be better, but no. And in the end, Pokemon is just going to suffer because it tries to be the same thing every year. I mean, even if they made the multiplayer somehow bad, but like if the single player was still good, and even if I bought it and liked it, there's nothing forcing you to go out to your GameStop and buy the newest Pokemon X and Y, even then. If for the multiplayer, I mean, in the end, I wouldn't buy it. Don't buy X and Y. It's not even looking that good. And even if they say game footage not final, I doubt it's going to improve much. I mean, Black and White, I remember they had the gameplay footage. It came out, it looked the exact same, but it didn't even have anything. It was all these mediocre graphics, but even then the gameplay felt like a copy-pasted Diamond and Pearl. In the end, Pokemon is just suffering. I wouldn't buy X and Y, and neither should you. There's nobody forcing you to go out and buy X and Y, and the reason I'm repeating this is because, I mean, there are people who are still playing Halo, the Bungie Halos, Counter-Strike 1.6. It's actually the most popular because they literally changed nothing in the newer Counter-Strikes other than you have to get a new PC to run it. And there's also, did I mention, there are tons of people still playing on COD 4 and Black Ops 1, so there's nothing forcing you to go out and buy the newest one. So I wouldn't recommend anybody buy X and Y. It's just looking to be another disappointment and another Black and White. And Black and White was a big letdown. Helped me realize Pokemon was just overrated in the end. I mean, X and Y is just looking to be a cash-in. All in all, save your money and don't buy it. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more, and please get better games like Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. It's a lot more fun, actually has difficulty, and is rewarding, and doesn't try to have some stupid tacked on multiplayer which is broken and not fun at all.